Okay.
So hi, I'm Yvonne, and this is Kyle Thomas. Toms. Kyle
Right.
Thoms.
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to talk to you tonight about the psychology of eating right. I know for myself, there have been times where I haven't, and I'm still struggling to eat the proper foods, but it really is about your mind. And Kyle here said, during our pre-interview, he says, don't bargain with yourself. So when you eat right, it's not a bargain, it's a choice, and it's a healthy choice for your body. As I struggle with um, being healthy myself, I was pre-diabetic a couple of years ago, and I took it upon myself to change my eating habits so that I won't be on pills or have to take insulin. And so, what that journey looks like for me is cooking healthier meals. Luckily, I can cook and can make those changes uh, pretty well. So, but we're going to have some dialogue. And so, I'm going to let Kyle introduce himself. But first, I'm going to just give you a little bit of his background. He's a certified nutrition specialist, a fitness trainer, and he's been certified since 2011, and he wants to help you. Uh, so it's a great thing, right? To be healthy, for somebody to say, I want to help you, you know. But thank you so much for being here with me, Kyle, tonight and discussing such an important topic. I'm going to turn it over to you so you can further introduce yourself and then you can kick off this conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for allowing me to share some time with you. It's a great honor. I think very highly of you. And I just have to say that I'm so impressed and enthused at the same time with the work that you're doing to also reach people. We need supports. Especially in the Black and Brown communities, but everyone overall, every color, every hue needs to have support and be able to, grasp onto support mechanisms. And you're absolutely doing your part by first sharing yourself, bearing your soul about things. And I think that's a great connector. I don't like to spend a lot of time on me credentially or whatever. I just like for folks to know that if they put their faith in what I do, that I am actually certified. So I'm a certified nutritional specialist and personal fitness trainer. And I'm an ongoing student of the game of being a health enthusiast. I'm always broadening my knowledge and my perspective on how to keep getting better and keep getting healthier. One of the things that I alluded to, and just us kind of like, how do we bear ourselves so that folks can connect and know that we're not these pedestal, quote unquote, perfect folks or whatever. When I was a
Exactly.
kid, yeah, when I was a kid, I was put on a diet. I was getting big, and I had to have my food measured, and I had to have my food weighed. And I never forget a quick story. The first time we came from the doctors, and my mom had gone to the store, she picked up the scales and everything, and then we went, and she got Kentucky Fried Chicken, which at the time was my absolute favorite. So I was like, okay, I guess we'll start this diet thing, like, in the next week or something. So everyone got gathered for dinner, and I could smell, it has a certain smell when it's in that cardboard box, everybody knows.
Yeah.
And we get into it. And that's how we get comfort from foods, because it touches all of our senses. So I'm into the smell of it and the red and white stripes and everything on it. And my mom's making everyone's plate. She makes my little brother's plate, and then she makes my plate. And she gets the scale. She broke out this brisket. She started cutting these thin slices. And I started laughing because I was like, well, mom's really going far on this joke. I know I'm getting my fried chicken though, but this is funny. I'll give it to you. It's funny. You got the props, you got the scale, you're measuring everything. And she put those portions on my plate. And I was so angry. I said that I am going to get up in the middle of the night and I'm going to sneak downstairs and I'm going to go in the fridge and I'm going to get my chicken. And I woke myself up 3, 4 in the morning, snuck downstairs, opened up the refrigerator, got my chicken that I was prepared to eat cold. I just wanted my Kentucky Fried Chicken. And somehow I got an epiphany that said, if I do this sneaking, I'll continue to have this weight issue and I'll always have to sneak food.
Oh.
I didn't take a bite of it. I put it all back. I went to bed. The next morning, I started watching World of Sports. I started trying to mimic and find out, what are athletes doing? What are dancers doing? I remember seeing this show with Ben Vereen on, and he was going through this dancing training, and it was rigorous. I started copying it. Sugar Ray Leonard, any athlete that I could see was doing something. The Rocky movies. Yes, I drank the
So you
raw egg
shifted your
yolks.
mindset.
I drank the raw egg yolks, which I do not.
Yeah.
And that's for that's for movies, cinema. Don't eat raw eggs. And my journey just kind of continued on through my adulthood. And one of the things also, Yvonne, that you really said that caught my attention was speaking about like pre-diabetic numbers. A few years ago, I went back to school, and after working a traditional job and making sure kids are at the bed and you have dinner and everything, I started doing my schoolwork at like 10 at night, which would take me to 2 or 3 in the morning. So I'm sitting on my dinner, I'm sitting on a couch or on an easy chair with the laptop on, on my lap, and I'm working all these hours on schoolwork. And then I had to get up at 6:45 to go to my traditional job. And so I've always been big on checkups. So I went for my checkup, and the doctor said I had elevated triglyceride numbers. And I'm saying, this can't be right. I'm eating wild Alaskan salmon. I'm eating quinoa. But what I didn't realize was, I was stressed from the school. I was sitting on my meal. And because I was going back to school, I was not exercising the way I always did. And then I wasn't getting enough sleep on top of that. So it was enough to elevate my numbers. And the doctor wanted to prescribe, the medication to me. And I said, no, it's me. So I'm going to do this. Give me, 6 months and for the next checkup. And I started refocusing myself, and I controlled the numbers and got them down by doing the things, eating right, different portions, timing when I'm eating, how I'm eating, what I'm eating. And I got my levels back down to normal. So it can be done. And a couple little supplements also. I mean, I season my cereal or oatmeal with Ceylon Cinnamon, which is Ceylon. That is the cinnamon that has medicinal properties that actually lowers your blood sugar levels.
That's good to know.
Yes. Now, and I love to share this information. The common cinnamon that we get out of the store is actually Cassia cinnamon. It's, for lack of a better term, the poor cousin of Ceylon. It comes stale, basically. As soon as it's taken off the plant, it's stale. So by the time we get it, it's basically a flavor enhancer when you're making cookies or you're making a pie or for your oatmeal, but it has no medicinal properties in it. Ceylon cinnamon, which can be found at vitamin shops and Whole
I better
Foods.
write this. I'm writing this down too, by the way. So I don't know which type of cinnamon to get.
Yes, Ceylon. And that's the one that actually helps lower your blood sugar levels. Another supplement is called berberine, berberine. And that helps also regulate your sugar levels. So those are supplements that I took along with exercising, along with portion control, along with exercising. And especially for those folks who are experiencing pre-diabetic elevated numbers, those are some of the things that you can do to get your numbers reversed and get them stabilized and normalized. And that's really key, because once full onset diabetes type 2 comes on, then that's actually considered an autoimmune deficiency. And once you have an autoimmune deficiency, that's considered a comorbidity. If you've heard the word comorbidity, those are the things that help weaken the system in this pandemic era we're in.
Right.
So they'll oh, if you need the booster or you need a shot, especially if you have comorbidities, that means you have an ailment or more. So in some cases, multiple comorbidities. People may have high sugar and high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And that means your autoimmune system is deficient, it's weakened. So now it's vulnerable to attack from any virus or bacteria. So good reasons to want to control type 2 diabetes and reverse it. I've seen reversals. I've helped people with reversals. Pre-diabetes is absolutely reversal. And I'm speaking to myself because my number was actually hit in the beginning range of pre-diabetes. And so I completely reversed that. And it's important to know that most of our ailments are directly related to the food, because that's our fuel for our body machine. And it gets that simple in concept, but in actuality, it involves reading labels and knowing what the types of foods that we're consuming, what they have in them that cause our body's disease.
Yeah, when I had to see a nutritionist, that was some of the things that she stated. It's like reading the labels, looking at how much sugar is in a product, all of the preservatives, and a lot of different things like that. So
Yes.
it was essential for me, to read those labels and look at the nutritional values, because one thing I did not want to do is to take medicine. And I had
Yes.
taken a couple of metformin pills, and that it made me sick. And so the things that you just spoke about, going back to college and being up late like that, that was something that I did. And because I was up late, trying to stay woke, trying to get those papers written, I was eating unhealthy things, nor was I getting proper rest. So all of that contribute to, the sugar elevation. And I was going through menopause. So I recently found out too that also has something to do with it. And the reason why, I decided to, cut back and, take my health a little bit more seriously, because diabetes does run in my family, along with hypertension, and some other things. And so, I don't want to be on medication, you know, in years to come, and then need more medication for that medication that they gave me, because let's just face it, they cause other problems. And
You
so the
sound like,
mind,
yeah, you
huh?
sound like you're doing my seminar right now, Yvonne.
So,
Yeah,
so
because
the
you keyed it.
mindset is,
Oh my goodness.
change how you eat,
Right.
and really stick to it. Um, so, so now I'm gonna just ask you a bunch of questions.
Sure.
Um, And so one of the things that I noticed about eating, and in the story that you told about the chicken and sneaking in the refrigerator, that's funny because, I really do have to tell myself, girl, don't eat that cookie. Don't you eat that cookie. You don't need that cookie. Get your apple or eat a banana. So how do you get in the mindset to change how you eat? And how
So,
long does a change eating habit take place? Because I know some people might want to know, like, how long does it take to break a habit? I heard it's 21 days, but let's see.
so yeah. So on a macro level, people will say 21 days. On a micro level, let's say you tell yourself something 14 times, it becomes ingrained in your brain. So I don't want to eat this cookie because I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to eat this cookie because I don't want to gain weight. Either out loud, spoken word, or your inside voice. Um, the thing that I can say most helped me was rationalization. Okay, so I am now, and when I talk to folks sometimes, especially if I'm in front of a group or something, I'll tell them I'm like Morpheus from the Matrix. Like I see the codes in the label. And I say that because my motto is I don't want to pay an assassin to kill me slowly while they get
Mm,
wealthy off of my dime. I don't want to pay an assassin to kill me slowly to make them wealthy on my dime.
that's good
See,
right there.
yeah, because everything, we're in a capitalist society, and people can be capitalist, socialist, communist, whatever you want, but in capitalism it means that there is a markup. Okay, that's just the way capitalism works. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you can make a living off of it, but you don't have to make a living, I say, by killing other people.
Exactly.
What happens is they figured out now, diabolically, to not kill us immediately, because like the Matrix, they want to use us as a battery. So they want to milk us for our money for as long as they can. And then when we drop off, there's another sick person coming up behind us who's going to need, like you said, the medications you talked about, and then a medication to offset the side effects of that medication. And that's like right out of my seminar, which I know you haven't heard, but we're really connecting on the same frequency. Yes, absolutely true. So I've been in places when I worked a traditional job, and someone will say, "Oh, Kyle, it's Yvonne's birthday. Here's a slice of cake for you." And I'd say, "Oh, no, no, thank you." And they'd say, "Oh, come on, Kyle, it's not going to kill you." And I'd say, "No, thank you. I'm just, I'm watching my figure, My mind, I'm saying, I know everybody pitched in to get the cake for Yvonne, and it's a nice thought, but you got the cake from Costco or Sam's Club or BJ's. And I know when you look at the side of that tag and you see 55 ingredients in that
Man,
cake."
listen.
Okay. Okay. Now, Yvonne,
For
if you
real.
and I said we were going to make a cake right now, we'd probably need about 5 to 7 ingredients: milk, wheat, sugar, maybe some cinnamon, eggs, maybe a few.
Eggs, milk,
Yeah.
flour,
Flour.
vanilla,
Yeah. Sugar.
and sugar. That's 5.
And yeah, and maybe cinnamon or an allspice, maybe.
Maybe.
Now, right, contrast that to, I challenge folks, even if you're not buying a cake, the next time you were in Whole Foods, Sam's Club, BJ's, or any family bulk store, go to the cake section and read how many ingredients are in them. So it's that simple for me. If it's a 4-syllable, 5-syllable word, if it's diazibicardamide, I couldn't hold a gun to you and make you eat a tablespoon of that. But if I mix it in with some sugar and some food colorings and put it on a cake and bake it, you'll eat it.
So what is that?
That is actually an excellent question. This yoga mat material. You know how yoga mats are soft?
Mm-hmm.
That's what many of us have been eating
Oh,
for
get
decades.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, there are only a handful, only a couple of establishments that took that ingredient out of their recipe. Subway was one a few years ago, and Panera Bread another one. But Subway has so much sugar in their rolls that are all natural, whole wheat, oatmeal sprinkled on the top, but there's so much sugar in them. They wanted to open a franchise in Scotland or Ireland. It escapes me right now, but it was one or the other. And they said, you can't do it unless you list your rolls as cakes.
Wow.
That's how much sugar is in the Subway rolls.
Wow.
They took the bicarbonate out, but every time you go to Red Lobster with those biscuits, you go to Olive Garden with that all-you-can-eat bread. When you go through Sonic, when you go through the drive-through for Wendy's, when you go through loving that chicken from Popeyes and eating those biscuits,
No.
any of those have yoga mat softening material, bicarbonate, and that's why the roll is so soft and spongy in those places that I just mentioned. Now, if you think back to grandma or great grandma, if you've ever witnessed or had somebody make a bread in the oven in the rectangular pan and bake some bread, and you smell that bread smell throughout the house or what have you. If you can recall, they take the bread out, and grandma or great grandma will have a serrated edge knife,
right,
and cut through the bread, because that bread is actually closer to what it's supposed to be, which is a roughage. It's supposed to help push things out. It's not a soft, spongy bread, that homemade bread, right? It has to be cut with a serrated edge knife because it's rough. That's how bread is supposed to be. We fall into comfort, tactile comfort through how's it feel in my mouth, how flaky is it, how does the butter melt into, and we get in this comfort of this is how it feels, and if this is how it feels, and then this is how it tastes because it has so much sugar or salt, or in some cases both, then I feel good right now eating it. And whenever I want to feel good, then I'm going to get that burger with that soft bun, or I'm going to get those all you can eat Olive Garden
Those are
breadsticks
my
with,
favorite.
yeah. So this is what we're consuming. Now, will you drop over and drop dead immediately? Obviously not. We're all still here. We're having this conversation. But what happens is the pancreas begins to get clogged. The liver begins to get clogged. The liver is your filter. If your filter is clogged in your air vent, in your dryer, in your washing machine, in your car,
it catches fire.
Something happens, right?
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow, maybe not the next day, but at some point in time. And that's where we find ourselves at some point in time. And it's not because you're 50. It's not because you've just turned 40. It's not because you're 35. It's not because you're 25 and you're over the hill. It's because during those decades that I just mentioned, from the time you were 7, you've been eating things that have been slowly clogging your system, which gives us issues over time. Hence what I'm saying, paying the assassin to kill us slowly while they get wealthy. So every time I see a pie or a cookie or Oreo or something, I go into my Morpheus mode. And I'm like, no, I see the codes. I know how many ingredients are in that. I know you have yoga mat material in that. I know you have something in that cookie that's a derivative of laundry detergent. I'm not going to eat that, because what happens is there's an excellent documentary that I watch, and they had it was called Weight of the Nation. And this particular segment, they got with the parents of preschool kids and said, hey, we want to do a chronicle. If you sign this, so we can keep track of the medical records of your kids all the way up through adulthood. And then we will try to get them to sign on into
And
adulthood.
that's psychology.
Yes, absolutely. What they found out, Yvonne, and to all our friends out there who are listening to this, is when a kid would unfortunately have like a car accident at 16 or 17, and their body was, able to be observed in the autopsy. They took the artery and they squeezed it, and like toothpaste, all this gunk came out of a 17-year-old's artery.
Wow.
And what it tells you is, if they're that young at 17 and thin as a rail and playing sports and doing all the things that young kids do, it's already begun to accumulate 7-10 years prior, with the cotton candy, with the yodels, with all of these things that we reward ourselves with. And that's the psychology of food. When I was a kid, we only went to McDonald's when it was some kind of celebration, the circus, the carnival or something. And then after that, we stopped at McDonald's. And then we would get a bag of fries that would literally fit into like a cup of your hand, right? In a little white bag with an M on it. Fast forward to the 80s and 90s, where everything became Biggie.
Right.
Biggie fun. And so what we've started doing, I call the inconvenience of convenience food, is that it's easier, it's accessible, you drive through. Now we self-reward, where Kyle and Yvonne might have gone to the circus and been treated afterwards. Now we're grown. We go through the drive-through and treat ourselves.
Right.
Psychologically, you're connecting to what makes me feel good, all the way back to childhood.
Exactly.
McDonald's has the best fries. McDonald's has the best fries because they're taking the broth, the juice from the burgers, and pouring that broth into the oil. So you're getting this, and that's why everyone couldn't figure out, why is McDonald's fries so good? Yeah, because it's got the grease and the gunk from the burger in the oil with the fry. So you're not just getting the oil and the salt, you're getting that beef juice also, which is artery clogging. And now on top of that, you're supersizing it. right? And so, but you're treating yourself, you feel good at the moment when you're doing it. And it's fast, you drive through and you keep on going with your life. So we're not preparing foods for ourselves and giving us that therapy. So when I prepare the food for myself and my family, for any event, and I love to cook, because cooking, as you may very well know, Yvonne, it can be very therapeutic.
Yeah, it is.
Every time I'm cooking for myself or someone, I'm always thinking about the care and the love that I'm putting into what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I know that it's fresh and I know that it's non-GMO. And I feel good when someone is eating. If they compliment me on the meal, I feel good. Not only did it taste good, that they don't even know that it's actually healthy for them. So the psychology, coming full circle into how we change these habits, is by learning and getting as much information as you can about the foods you consume. Because if you know that I'm going to pull a fast one on you with something, you're not going to be so prone to be engaged with that. I feel like I'm a sucker if I go and grab a Wendy's burger. I would feel like someone's taking advantage of me, because I know they don't really care about me. They want me to pay for something. And the contradiction of terms that I call the Food and Drug Administration comes into play, because you ought not have a Food and Drug Administration. You need a food administration and you need a drug administration. You need oversight, because that's a conflict of interest. That would be like a cops and robbers department, right? Someone stole my vehicle. Officer, I come in here to make a complaint. Oh, wait a minute. There's the officer getting out of my car right now in the parking lot, right? That would be a conflict of interest. You can't have a cops and robbers department. You need cops and and then there's that element out there that's robbers or what have you. I say all that in a funny way just to say, we don't think twice about it. Matter of fact, there's a seal of approval if it's FDA approved. Oh, this is FDA approved. I'm going to take
Exactly.
this. This is FDA
Exactly.
approved. Oh, this is grade A, FDA approved. Well, they're approving things that are getting us ill. There's a pandemic going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my disappointment with what's going on, and I'm not going to, whatever people want to do, if you want to get the shot, get the shot. If you don't want to get the shot, don't get the shot. I understand that. My disappointment is that whichever side of the aisle you may be on in that, there's no health official, not Dr. Fauci, not Dr. Walensky, not Dr. Sanjay Gupta. No one is saying, hey, don't eat foods that are going to compromise your immune system.
That's the part right there.
No one is saying that.
That's it
And
right
no
there.
one is saying, don't eat refined sugars, because that's going to compromise your immune system. Don't drink so much hard alcohol, because that's going to compromise. These are things that we know there's no redeeming health quality in vodka, in gin, in scotch. Like, it's not being said. Don't smoke cigarettes. Try to cut down, because there are so many carcinogens in cigarettes that are freely open to the market to buy.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. But you can keep talking.
Okay, because I can still see and hear you. Okay. And so this is key in terms of understanding if we're being played for whatever reason with our health. And so I want to say to folks, begin to research your foods, whatever food it is. It's great. If you like stovetop stuffing, if you like rice-a-roni, okay, I'm just challenging you to research it, find out what's in it, read those ingredients. And if you love that rice-a-roni or that stovetop stuffing, read the ingredients and then go to the dictionary and start trying to find out what those ingredients are. And then say, do I want that in my system? Am I going to pay $5.25, $4.95, whatever, to put this in my system that is actually going to cause me issues down the line? Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but we can look and see the state of the United States right now. And we have to connect the dots. Hopefully we will, that even in this era of COVID and all of the variants, we lead the globe in cases. Why is that? Why is that? We don't outnumber Brazil. I mean, we don't outnumber China. They're in the billions of a population. We don't outnumber India. They're in the billions of a culture. We're 338 million. Brazil is 200 million. How do we lead the world in COVID cases? Except for the fuel that we put in our bodies that compromise our systems and weaken it. I'll tell you, 95% of the people who die from COVID have either comorbidities and are overweight or obese because your body is taxed. That's why we call it out of shape. You're outside of your natural shape.
So let's pause for a minute and discuss some of the things that you've been saying, so that we don't bombard people with COVID news.
Yes.
Because some of those things that they've been talking about that, you know, are cases for why you should do something, you know, the underlying issues are still not being addressed. And that's why I have a problem with the whole thing. You can't say, go ahead and do something to fix a solution that's still problematic, right? And mostly in our communities, for instance, where I live at, we have access to 3 grocery stores, but the area has been gentrified. But, you know, if you go into an area that has not been gentrified, you cannot find a grocery store that sells or has great produce. The meat is fresh, you know, so there's a lot of components. You have liquor stores, you have fast food joints, you know, so you can't address an issue of, you know, saying that if you do this, you'll be better and you'll be able to live when all of the other things that's in your community is killing you.
Yes.
So, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. And so, you know, I kind of fight back that way, because if you're saying one thing to me, I want you to address it all. Don't pull the Band-Aid off my wound and it's gaping and it's open. And, you know, you're like, well, I gave you this, you should be good. And I'm telling you that I'm not. And you're still ignoring me. Why? Because this doesn't fit your narrative.
Right. Or I'm going to get another Band-Aid after that Band-Aid. Yeah.
Right. And just keep, you know, addressing the wound that way. When what we're discussing here is to heal from the inside, you know, because that's going to be better for you. Because I remember during the time where I was changing my eating habits, I think I started maybe in like 2013, 2012, something like that, where, you know, because at my church, we always fast, you know, during a certain time period, right? Usually around Easter or some things like that. We fast, church anniversaries. So I got used to not eating, you know, for a period of time. And so as I started that different type of journey of cutting out meat, refined sugars, my energy shot through the roof.
Right.
I wasn't bogged down. You know, the weight came off faster. I lost like 24 pounds in a month.
Right.
Just cutting out, you know, bits and pieces of, you know, what I thought was comfort food. Right. You know, it's not comforting if it's killing you. You know, just to address people that might be like, well, I'm going to die anyway. But how do you want to die?
No one's in their deathbed. No one's on their deathbed saying, well, you know what? I was ready to go.
Right. Exactly.
People say that because they're not dead or dying at the moment. And there we go.
They can't see
with yourself.
Right. Because then they can't see on the inside that you are dying. But because it hasn't come out on the outside, you don't see it. And so it's like that out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
You know, but your knees will start hurting, especially when you start getting older. You know, like those bones will start creaking, those muscles will ache. It's not because you're getting older, it's because you're not eating right.
Yes, that's correct.
That's right. And that's some things that I had to accept, you know, so.
We can see that, Yvonne, because every once in a while you'll go on the internet and you see this 84-year-old swam a channel.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see this 87-year-old ran this marathon. All they're
or weightlifting.
Right, or weightlifting. And all they're doing at their age, in their 70s or 80s or 90s, is they're placing a demand on their body. I need you to swim, run, lift this thing, right? And because I'm putting a certain type of fuel into you, body, I'm placing this demand on you to meet this challenge. And that's all it is. And the body says, okay. But if we start sitting around and become couch potatoes and we're eating this quote unquote comfort food that actually makes us uncomfortable in our health, then the body says, we don't need to be toned. What do we need to be toned for? Shut it down. We're in gear 4. We could shut it down to gear 1, downshift, because we're not using, there's no demand that says we need to be in gear 4. So the body will naturally say downshift. And then also on the internet, when you see the people who lost 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 pounds, is because they placed a new demand on their body. They fortified their body with a certain type of fuel, eating properly, and the body met the demand, because our body is actually meant, until the battery actually runs out, we're meant to repair ourselves. And that's why when you get the cut, you wash it off and you apply direct pressure, and all of a sudden the blood coagulates and thickens and you're not bleeding anymore. And then after a day, you get a scab. And then after a while, the scab falls off and you got new skin, and the new skin's lighter, then it gets pigmentation and you got a little tiny mark, but your skin is reconnected. Your body has healed itself because you've allowed it to. If you get that same cut and you keep it dirty and you keep scratching it, and then it gets infected and you get all these other things going on because you're not partnering with your body to help it heal. But if we partner with it, then the body will heal itself. And that's with weight reversal, that is with muscle tone. And that's what keeps me in the mode of what I do and why I do it, because I don't wish to be 92 in a walker or in a wheelchair. If something happens to me at 78, but he just Kyle played some basketball last week, he was sparring boxing, he ran up the hill, he was jump roping, then you know that I was happy and I lived a quality of life being able to move my body. I want to play ball with my kids, I want to run around, I want to dance all night, I want to do certain things, I want to run this machine. That's what it's here for, right? So, and for folks, you touched on something else. I just want to circle on really quickly, Yvonne, when you said like things that run in the family. Well, we may have a propensity for it because there's such thing as a genome and a genealogy. But the other thing to consider is, if I eat like mom, and mom eats and cooks like grandma, and if that is high sodium foods, a lot of salt in your green beans, overcooked greens, fat on meat, skin on chicken, then I'm going to be prone to have the same issues that my mother or my grandparent had and say, oh, it runs in the family. Not necessarily. You can break a lot of these chains, but you can't keep eating the same way mom and grandma and great grandma did, and then say, oh, well, they write it off. I'm 40 now. So yeah, I'm 45, getting up there. I'm 50. This is what happens. Getting old sucks. No, it doesn't. Ask the 87-year-old that ran the marathon. Ask the 72-year-old that's lifting the weights. Ask the 93-year-old who's swimming the channel. Life doesn't suck. Getting old doesn't suck. You can age gracefully with a quality of life if you choose to, but it's just getting that information and making those changes. So it's all a choice. That's why we don't bargain with ourselves. Some people do it if they're in Vegas, but that's another story. But you have to be real with yourself and just understanding what's real. I can eat this cake that's slice of cake, 3-layer cake that's 200 calories. And I can say I'm going to eat salads for the next week. But you can't burn off quickly the amount that you can consume. It's just, sorry, it's one of those unfair things. You can't eat 200 calorie slice of cake and then say, oh, all next week I'm going to eat salads and I should be okay. What's wrong with this weight? Why won't it come off? No, you have to do more. And you have to listen to your body when it's telling you to do more, because if you're not losing, that means you're plateauing and you need a new stimuli. So that means you have to change your workout. That means you have to change your routine. That means you have to eat a little bit differently to get over that next hump of that plateau. And then the body says, oh, okay, we're partnering with each other for a new demand. So now we're going to meet that challenge. Thank you for giving me the fuel I need to meet this challenge. And now I'm going to do it.
And so to wrap it all up, Kyle, thank you so much for that great discussion. I do want to add that my great grandmother passed away in 2016, and she was
Oh, I'm
100.
sorry. I'm sorry.
And she was 100. No, she lived a great life.
Yeah.
You know, I think the only sad part for me was, I wasn't as close to her as I wanted to, especially given what I know now about our history and the things that have been hidden. She could have shared some insight, about her life.
Yeah.
And that's how I like to look at, the older generation. They have, information that we need
Yes.
because they experienced it. Because let's just face it, it's not in the history books. As a matter of fact, they're trying to stop us from talking about it. But I wanted to say this: she still did eat those foods, right? Those comfort foods. I think the
Yeah.
difference, though, is how she made it. And being in the South, they had food to grow, and then they shared things. And so that makes a huge difference in how we eat and how we process things. Because I believe her diet was mostly, fruits and vegetables, and she did eat meat, but the meat that she did eat, it came from farms, probably. I know the fish did. They went to the fish market, and they would drive to East St. Louis to, get the fish. But
Yeah.
it's the environment too that we live in that
Right.
cause these conditions. Even with even with us growing our own foods and raising our own animals, they're still eating and being raised off land that has been contaminated.
Right.
And so it's a lot of nuances in that. But this will not be our last conversation. You had some great things to say. And so what going forward, what we're going to do is, pick some topics, and ask our audience, what more do they want to learn about, when it
Yes.
comes to changing their diets and eating healthier foods. Uh,
Yes.
because when I present this to other people and I introduce new foods to them, things that I've tried that I like in place of something, they find out that it's not bad. It's kind of tasty. So
Right.
it's the mindset of changing how you eat from what you're used to, because change does happen not just because you need to change, you should change, to be a
Yes.
better you.
Right.
So thank
And
you
when
so
that
much,
connects,
Kyle.
oh, thank you, Yvonne. It was such a pleasure to speak to you in this format. And I hope that the words resonate with some folks. I will say on Facebook, Kiel, Kyle Thoms, Thoms. Every week I give free health tips to folks so they can go on Facebook or go on my page and scroll down and they'll just see health tip after health tip. Also on Facebook, Here to Health You, and it's HERE, health, HEALTHTO, and the letter U on Facebook. And you'll just also, either format will give you free tips on health that are very helpful. And the website is here to health you, the letter U.com. And you can also, anyone wants to go there and see services, seminars, webinars, or personal consultations and grocery store tours and things like that I offer. I'd be very happy to help anyone. I look forward to our next meeting, and God bless you, Yvonne, for what you're doing. I can't be prouder of you for just connecting to our psychologists. That is so key. That is what the mind controls everything. Our
Mm-hmm.
perception, our perspectives
Mm-hmm.
are key to our every idiosyncrasy and what makes us who we are. And we can be better just by knowing, oh, okay, I got some new information to consider that now I can change the way I thought or perceived something yesterday.
Exactly.
Something that's better for me overall today. And your topics, and you're covering it all, my sister. You're hitting every topic from every which way, every angle on what goes into the mind. And you're needed, Yvonne. You're needed. And so thank you.
Thank you so much for those words of, man, that was affirmation. It was adoration. It was
Yes.
accountability. It was
Yep.
acceptance.
Yes.
Because that has been my journey, and I just want to do more of this. I'm going to be bringing more people, to the stage, and let me. Okay, yeah, we gonna end.
Well, you know what? I will say so long for now and until